asking for an ocean scene, and I did it. I actually really like this. I had such a blast with this one. Adding in that white for the waves. Hey, I'm popping on a little earlier than normal. That's a good thing, right? Hopefully more people are awake. How's everybody doing? Hopefully well. Sorry, I have an itch. Yeah. So, I was just showing this. I've been getting a lot of requests for ocean scenes, which I do, but I haven't done in a while, and I was like, I don't want to just show you how to paint an ocean scene that looks like everybody else's. And you know what I mean. And there's also nothing wrong with that. You know I'm all about copying and like being kind of like an apprentice and all of that stuff. But I wanted to show you something that felt like me. And this feels like me. Gosh, I love those crashing waves. I feel like I could add a little spatter to them and it'd be even more exciting. So anyway, I'm just gonna hang out. I'm gonna paint a little bit. And we'll just chitty chat, right? Hi. Thanks for hopping on. We're gonna see how this goes because this is kind of like witching hour in my house, so I don't know if my son is gonna even let me do this without completely, you know, losing his mind. So if you have any questions while I'm painting, please ask. Please, please, please. That's what I'm here for. Off topic, on topic, I don't care. Hi, thanks for joining. All right, I'm gonna flip the camera around and we'll get to it. See where things take us. Ooh, those lilacs smell so good. That's my ceiling. Hi, thanks for hopping on. I'm gonna do a little something that is super fun, absolutely 100% no skill required whatsoever. And I say that not to be like rude or anything, but like sometimes it's just nice to sit and paint and not have it be a thing. I hear so much like, I don't know what to paint, I don't know what to paint. Like, hello. So then don't paint anything. So I am literally just adding some color to the paper. Lots of water. It's important for what I'm going to be doing here. Lots of water. Let some things run together. Let some things not run together. There are literally no rules for what I'm doing here. Okay, I want that to be so clear. There are just no rules. I know I say that a lot, but this particular exercise, it's just do what feels good. Just make sure there's a lot of color and a lot of pigment on the page. If you don't feel like you have puddles happening, then you don't have enough pigment and or water on the page for this to actually work and be exciting. Hello, hello. So I'm just digging into all the, yeah, that's not bright enough. Digging into all my colors here, letting things mingle. This is just an exercise, okay? Now I have some white. This is just like white ink. It's just random. I don't even know where I got it. Oh, look at that. Now this is not the most exciting part. I'm literally dropping it in. Okay. So fun. I can't even handle how fun. All right. Now here's where it gets fun, really fun. Now I'm using my Dagger, my normal BFF brush. Okay. And I'm using Mission Gold watercolor right there. Now, I'm sure you've seen some of this on the internets here and there. It's called scrape painting, but I just don't ever see it done with watercolor. I put a little paper towel underneath the bottom here because you see why. You'll see why. All right, you ready for this? If you're not paying attention, now's the time to pay attention because it's gonna get good. Well, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. That's the beauty of this. We don't really know what it's going to do. Oh, but it's good. Yeah, it's good. Right? Look at that. I'm going to wipe that off. I'm going to go down the other side. I'm using a good amount of pressure and just scrape. Look at that. Isn't that so fun? So freaking fun, friends. So fun. Now, you could go back in if you want to fill and have more. You could do like mini scrapes, okay? And then this is not the end of this. There's more that you could do here, and I'm going to show you what. You don't have to scrape. Like if you just like that stroke there, you have to try it. You could just leave it, but I'm going to scrape. And I'm going to scrape here too. You could use the paint that's on the paper and do another scrape. It's just so fun. And watercolor is like a beautiful medium to try it. So lovely. You can scrape in the other direction. And again, you could use the residual pigment and scrape with that. So good, so good. Okay. Now, I want to let this dry a little bit. And we're going to do a little something called reverse coloring. I'm sure many of you have seen it. And it's basically where you take a pen. Let me make sure this is going to work. I feel like I want something thinner though. You just take a nice little fine pen. It can be black. It cannot be black. It can be what, your favorite marker to like doodle with. It could be pencil, right? What's this? Ooh. And we're just gonna doodle. I'm gonna move this palette so I have some room. Now, some of the spots here are still, ooh, this is out of ink. Or it's wet, I'm not sure which. I think it's actually wet. We're gonna let that dry a little bit more. And I just used a scrap piece of watercolor paper to scrape. I did some others that are like really cool. I'm gonna post them. I did this one earlier. Oh, this green one, so fun. And you can you're probably like, well, what the heck do I do with these after? You just keep them as is. They're gorgeous. Yeah, watercolor pencil would be incredible because you could go into the wet with that watercolor pencil. I wish I had, and it would, bleed and soften. I have a special pencil. Here we go. Let me see if I have one sharpened. I don't, of course. That'll have to be for another day. Yeah, there's some dry spots over here. All right, and you can just start doodling. Over top. Right? This is this type of stuff I get requests for the most. Just fun little exercises to warm you up and loosen you up. Uh-oh. I hear a clamor out there. I don't know what's happening, but hopefully it's not anything I'm needed for. And there it is. You just doodle your heart out. Look at that. It's so fun. Now my husband's gonna walk out here yeah, you could totally trace the shapes. He's gonna walk out here any moment. What you doing? When you gonna be done? And the great thing is, now, friends, I did not invent this. There are people all over the internet doing this in their own way. I'm just putting my little spin on it. So don't think that I'm trying to, like, you know, claim that this is some original idea here. This is just something, this is kind of my spin on the concept. Isn't that pretty? And you can just sit. This is something that you could do, like, obviously not the painting part, but the sketching part, you could, like, have this in your lap, you know, as you're hanging out with the family at night, and just doodle away. You know, maybe the family's watching a movie that you don't really, you want to be in the room, you want to be present, but maybe you don't really want to watch, like, I don't know, Diary of a Wimpy Kid for like the 40th time. Have one of these on your lap. Thank you. These are great pieces. I mean, totally. I mean, you could create this whole pattern, fill the whole page with your sketching, and it could be frameable. Or you might want to, you know, cut parts of it up and make little gift tags out of. Or, you know, there's so many different things you could do with a page like this. Raquel, thanks for joining. Just did a little scrape painting that I'm now doodling on top of. Super fun, so relaxing. Hey friends, thanks for popping in. Just doing a really kind of meditative moment here with some abstract watercolor that I literally scraped on the page, and then some sketches, doodles, whatever you want to call them, over top. I get asked the most for watercolor exercises, and so this is a new one. I've seen others do a version of this, and I thought, well, let me figure this out for watercolor. How would this work for watercolor? And so here we are. Off camera there a little bit. I'm not normally live this early. I'm more of like a midnight type of gal, but here we are. So be it. Thanks for hopping on. If you're new here, my name is Kristy, and I am officially obsessed with watercolor and the joy-inducing powers that it has, and I am here to teach you all how to cast fear aside, how to embrace watercolor as part of your lifestyle, and get as much from it as you can. Be bold, be fearless. That's what I'm here for. I believe in making art for joy's sake. Thank you, Grandma Snazzy. I love that name. I firmly believe that Your art does not have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Many of my paintings and creations are just a beginning. Never meant to be finished, never meant to be hung on a wall. They're a beginning physically, and they are kind of a pathway to restoring peace, restoring calm. So when we start thinking about our paintings not as a means to an end, but as a journey, it changes the way we paint. We become more fearless. We become less doubtful of ourselves. And that's been a hard lesson for me to learn. And so I feel it's a little bit of a calling for me to kind of pass that along to you. So everything that I show you, everything that I teach is meant to inspire your fearlessness in art making. If you become someone along the way who sells their art, great. If you go viral along the way, awesome. But that's not our main goal here. I am a professional artist. I own 2 businesses. Again, for those that might be new here. So, full disclosure, I do make a living from my art and from the art that I hire other female artists to do as part of my brand. So if you ever have any questions or want any advice in that realm, I'm here for you. These pens, so this is the Pitt Artist pen from Faber-Castell, and it does say waterproof, and I have found it to be, pretty waterproof, yes. Not my favorite pens, but I just kind of use whatever I have. I'm so glad you're loving this. I need more patience because I feel I have to finish what I start in one sitting. Oh gosh, no, friend. So I completely understand that inclination. So she said, I feel like, I'm so sorry, and I'm assuming she, but these names just throw me for a loop. The comment was, I feel a pressure to finish a painting in one sitting. For the love, please. No, just throw that away. Throw that idea away. And I know it's easier said than done, but that can be a huge leap for you if you don't have to feel like you have to finish everything in one setting. I finish nothing in one setting. Nothing ever. And really take away, I think what could help you with that. Sorry, I needed a sip. Oh, so thirsty. I think what could help you with that is this mindset. You need fresh eyes. Fresh eyes are so important in art making. So you may want to come back, and I do this all the time, and maybe that's why I don't ever really think of anything of mine as finished, because sometimes I come back to a painting that I haven't looked at or even touched in 3 months, and I add to it and I make changes. So think about it that way. Think about the fact that nothing you ever create, I mean, maybe when it's framed under glass and hung on a wall, okay, maybe then it's finished. But truly, it's never done. I have baskets of artwork at my feet underneath my desk right here, and they're never completed. So just try to throw that idea away. And something you can do to fight against that is to challenge yourself to create, to paint quickly, set a timer if you need to paint small, because that can force you to be less attached to a single particular painting or a particular painting experience. Set timers, paint small, to kind of like knock that habit out of you. And I think it's worth knocking out because, and I'm not saying it's bad, but I think if you're annoyed by that, pulling yourself out of it is going to open up a whole new realm of art making experience to you. You're going to feel so much more freedom. You're going to feel like you can sit down, pick up a scrap piece of paper, and do whatever, whenever. Like, I don't know if you've seen it, but I did a video yesterday, I think, and it was called, it's something I've been doing for years, and it's called a Meet Yourself Where You're At pattern. And you literally sit down and you grab 3, 5, 6, 2, whatever, however many pieces of something that makes a mark that's within your reach. You grab, you know, a bunch of pieces. It's a crayon, maybe it's an eyeliner, a Bic pen, I don't know. It could be anything. You grab whatever you have, a scrap piece of paper. Maybe it's a lined piece of paper from a tear-off notepad. I don't care what it is. And you push yourself to create some art with it. And I've said this phrase before, but I think a lot of us, including myself, I struggle with this. We treat our artwork like it's so precious. And what is precious is the process of getting to sit down, paint, put brush to paper, put pen to paper. That is precious. But the end result doesn't need to be precious. It doesn't need to be this grand, perfect, you know, expertly orchestrated moment in your life. It can be completely unplanned. It can be completely intuitive. That's where the magic happens. That's where you learn stuff. Sorry, friends, I feel like I'm just babbling. I get really passionate about all this. A little bud there. It's so fun, right? You could go back into this with white in places if you wanted to later on. Oh, what do I want to do here? Some longer leaves. I struggle. I tend to create the same type of leaves again and again. So I often try to just do like kind of low-key challenges for myself. You know, like right now I'm like, okay, really, I need to make some different shaped leaves. Like not a lot of pressure, but I just feel pretty strongly that our hobbies, and I'm going to just go ahead and assume, and I may be wrong because it is an assumption, but I'm going to assume that most of us here, you know, this is a relaxation mechanism. This is something that you do to unwind. This is a hobby for all intents and purposes. And maybe you want it to be more, but right now it's a hobby. Why should our hobby stress us out? That's like the antithesis of hobby, right? Totally. So I'm here to make sure we figure out together how to not be stressed out by this beautiful act of making art. You have at your fingertips, at your hands. Your hands can create something. That's what's important. That's what the moment's about. Not about making each stroke perfect, mixing the exact right color, because what is right? That's not what it's all about. A number of years ago, I mentioned how much I loved a painting an art teacher had painted. I feel like there's more to that story. The next time I saw the painting, he had cut it up into pieces. Did you ask him why? Curious. Because I do that all the time. I think you get to a certain point in your art making journey where you realize the painting, the finished product isn't the most important part all the time. I love this little swag of leaves. I love when leaves kind of like swirl in and around each other. It just feels so lovely and organic. Yeah, good. All right, I love that. And with something like this, move your paper around. Don't be bashful. I am working on cold pressed paper, so I'm not getting a lot of like variation in my line quality. These are some of my favorite kind of pens. This one was kind of running out of juice. Where it's like a brush tip, you could go in and use something like that. Yeah, it's completely out of juice, so that's not gonna work. So yeah, you don't have to use the same pen all throughout. This is a watercolor marker, but I'm gonna get a lot of drag on it because of the cold press nature of the paper, but you could come in with different types of pens. Now this will run because it's a watercolor marker, but if you're mindful of that, you could get some really cool effects. Hello, thanks for hopping on. We're so glad you're here. I am literally doodling. I get requests all the time for fun watercolor exercises, so I thought I'd come on tonight and show you one where I do kind of a scrape painting technique, but with watercolor. And then doodling over top, which is not a new technique. I'm just putting my own spin on it. I like these brush markers because I can get a really fine point like that, or I can get something really thick like that. So I tend to like those a lot more than just kind of this standard, what I was using before, like this kind of thing. But, you know, I use what I have. I kind of like the bounce these have to them, a little more expressive. But if I go fill in with any more, like with more watercolor or with like metallics or white, I just have to be mindful that this particular one will bleed. Excuse me. Thanks for hopping on, friends. We are just hanging out. I'm experimenting with kind of a doodling technique over top of a scrape painting made with watercolor. Filling in some areas fully with black. That adds some interest. You could go on and on with this for hours. This is a great great kind of side project to just always have one of these going. So you can just pick it up. I often mention if you're getting frustrated with a particular piece you're working on, abandon it, put it to the side, let it dry, let your eyes rest. This is a great piece to move on to. I love to have multiple things going at once. And if you have not ever tried that as kind of a creative practice, just having multiple pieces going at once, I highly recommend it. Are your colors labeled? The set I bought aren't. Do you mean my watercolor brush? I really don't have any idea of the color names too. I just go by what's on the end of the pen. I'm not a big I know my color names, but when I teach, I don't often call them out unless I'm asked, because I think it causes a lot of stress to always be worried about, okay, the instructor is reaching for this color and that kind of thing. So I teach in a very different way. But with the Zig pens, the color name is, let me remember. Oh, the paints in the square pots. If I buy a set, so I buy all sorts of watercolor sets. If you for example, the Paul Rubens set I bought just to play around with, I would highly recommend labeling them yourself. I think Paul Rubens, any set worth its salt, should come with color names, and you can go through and label these yourself with a Sharpie. But I do that just in case I fall in love with a particular color, and I want to replace it. When I make my own sets, some of you know I make my own sets, like this one in vintage tins. I bought the Mission Gold tubes. Oh, I've got these in here. Good. There we go. So when I make these, I squirt them in. See, MG, Mission Gold. And then on the other side, there's MG. I write raw umber. So I do that when I make my own sets. Oop. I have a video on here all about that. You can check it out. You're welcome. And I could see if you started this and you're in the mindset of okay, I got to finish this today, this could be really overwhelming, because this could get so tedious. So no. Try to abandon that thought of finishing something in one sitting. I mean, you could just keep going and going and going. And going and going and going. You really could. And I just want to say something before I start wrapping it up. Is this a masterpiece? No. Is this something anyone else could have done? Yep. And I'm not talking badly about myself. Please know that, because I am all about complimenting yourself as an artist. But that's not what this piece was about. This piece wasn't about being terribly innovative. This piece was about a moment, relaxation. I'm so much more calm since I started this. That's what this piece was about. And I think sometimes when you start out, and maybe it's good for a good long time in your art journey to just always enter a painting session with that expectation that this isn't about the final piece. This is about experimenting. This is about calming down. And you take that pressure off yourself. You never know what you can produce, what you can create, what can happen. All that pressure just blocks all the good stuff. I like those little tiny berries, black little spots. I'm gonna add some more up here. They're fun. It's getting dark outside here. Yuck. I think I always get a little sad each day when the sun goes down. My beautiful light in my studio disappears. right, friends, I am gonna start wrapping this up. It's been lovely. I might still hop on tonight a little bit later if you're around. Love to hang out. I'm gonna change this whole thing up here. I'm getting bold. Kind of like that. You're welcome. It's been very soothing to sit here and create like this. I haven't done a piece like this in quite some time. So it was very soothing. I notice I can tell when I'm calm. My voice slows down. Thank you. Cold coffee and a vape. Thank you. If you are new here, let me just say welcome. Would love a follow. I really, I spend a lot of time creating content here because I feel very, very called to bring the joy of watercolor to those that haven't experienced its wonders. So every comment, every like, all of it means the world to me. Yeah, I need a big blueberry there. Big bloob. I like that. I'm going to do an even bigger one. I like that a lot. That's pretty. I love sketching berries into things. Oh my heavens. You're very welcome. I feel most alive when I'm painting and sharing and jabbering on about all my crazy thoughts on creativity and all that. See, with these kind of pieces, you just layer and layer and layer and layer, and look how it's evolving and changing. Oh, I'm really liking this. Some more of those big bloobs up here. Go right over top of that. Make that a dark one. I tell you, I literally live for happy accidents. I live for them. They happen all the time. You're surrounded by happy accidents. If you didn't know that. I feel like the more that we can see happy accidents instead of just accidents, the more joyful we are. And here I am getting all woo-woo, sorry, but it's true. I bought your summer floral book. I love it and have been showing it to everyone. Oh my goodness, thank you. Thank you so much. Those books, I'm working on a new one, actually, because so many people have painted through all of them, all 7 of them, and they're like, we need more, which is crazy to me. So yeah, we're working on like a master's edition, which I'm pretty jazzed about. I love the woo-woo. Okay, all right, yeah, we're in the right place then if you love the woo-woo. Can't believe my children haven't like spontaneously combusted yet into the room. Usually this time of night, it's like all hands on deck, not just one of us. But I guess they're surviving out there if I don't hear anything. Or that could be a bad thing and I could go out to utter chaos, but I don't hear anything and nobody's coming in for mom relief from dad, so I said I was gonna go, didn't I? But my hand just started to really warm up. Let me tell you about muscle memory. It is a real thing. I highly recommend, before you sit down to paint, doing a warm-up sheet, even if it's just a 5x7, making brush strokes, warm up that hand. You will be so much more confident for it. It is totally a thing, just like any other part of the body. It needs to be warmed up. My mom brought me lilacs today from her garden because I killed all of my lilacs years ago. They got some kind of weirdo disease. Well, as soon as I walked into my studio this morning, I was like, oh, the lilacs are in the house. That smell. And they're sitting right in front of me. So that's why I did a lilac painting. I've had so many requests for lilacs, but I was like, nope, I'm waiting until I have fresh ones. I'm going to be a purist on this one. But today was the day. So if you haven't seen the lilac painting, I did it. It was like a 3-minute real-time painting, time-lapsed into, I think, about 40 seconds. I stood the entire time. It was very loose, very expressive, very interpretive, but I think it was pretty interesting to watch. Because lilacs, hydrangeas, all of those like multi-petaled cluster type flowers, I find to be, can be really intimidating. So you might want to check that out. Faux show. When you're doing a pattern like this, you don't have to, like, all the blueberries don't have to be created the same way. You'll see I've created blueberries a bunch of different ways here. Make sure your little centers aren't always on center. Can give things a little touch of realism. I struggle with that. Sometimes I get very repetitive. It's just like my nature, but like make some things off center. Hey, Abby, thanks for joining. It's good to see you here. If you're new, welcome, welcome. I don't often go totally off the edge like this, but it just feels right tonight, so I'm going for it. And that's purely from a reproduction standpoint, because so much of my artwork at some point or another does get scanned and used, whether it's on a wedding invitation or a licensed product. So I often don't go to the edge because it's harder to do like a repeat pattern when your source artwork is full bleed. Not impossible at all, just a little more time consuming. And sometimes, we have to deliver artwork like on a dime and we don't have a lot of time to get it ready. So, but anyway, sometimes I just feel like I want it to go to the edge. So I went to the edge, I put it to the edge and it's all good. And I like it. Some areas in your scene can be less precise, like what I'm doing right now. I'm not filling in, I'm being a little bit more sketchy. The texture of the brush shining through. I like that. And then I can go and do that somewhere else. So there's flow. I'm just gonna go peek my head out there and make sure no one's killed themselves. Is he okay? Okay. Sorry, I have a really bad sense of humor. Sometimes I apologize. But I have 2 really young kids, so you gotta have a sense of humor. Do you have a general plan when you begin a piece, or is it more spontaneous? I would say 80% of the time it's pretty spontaneous. And I know people are often very surprised to hear that, because artists are supposed to plan and sketch and, you know, have all these sketchbooks filled with ideas that they eventually turn into their grand masterpiece, but not me. I will get inspired. Like, so for example, when my yuccas were blooming, and I was in Utah recently and the yuccas were blooming, I, you know, kept driving by these beautiful yuccas, and I said to myself, okay, I am going to do a yucca composition. That's about as much planning as you're going to get out of me, for the most part. Yeah. This one had absolutely no plan. I didn't, even when I came live tonight, I knew I was going to do one of the scrape paintings for you, but I had planned to do a scrape painting, but I didn't know I was going to go here. I didn't know what colors I was going to use. I didn't have pens ready. I just kind of grabbed what was next to me that I had used recently on some other stuff. So there's nothing wrong with planning. There's plenty of artists who sketch and are much more meticulous than I am. I say do that, be that artist if that excites you and that makes you happy, but think twice about it if it starts to stress you out and you find yourself being fearful of, you know, starting on the good paper and all those things. That can happen when you're too wrapped up in the preliminary stuff and the practice, and you never really just get down to the boldness and the wow of just diving in to a painting session with the good paper and the good supplies and trusting yourself. So as long as that kind of approach isn't stifling you, go for it. All right, friends, I really am going to go this time because duty calls. I am officially off the work clock here for the day. But it has been lovely painting with you. Please take a moment. If there's anything you'd like me to talk about, paint, show you how to work through challenges you're having, go ahead and post some comments on any video. I respond to all comments. So if you want me to hear you, just pop in the comment section. All right, friends. Well, you have a fantastic night. It's been wonderful hanging out with you. Give you a look at this. And go ahead and try it yourself. It's great fun. Gonna turn the camera around for a moment. Hi. That was super fun, right? Look at that. I like it. Yeah. Okay, friends. Well, that's it for now. No, I don't. It would make a good fabric pattern, wouldn't it? I think so. You can mute the colors. You can do different colorways. All right, friends. Have a wonderful night. Maybe I'll see you later. Definitely see you tomorrow. Mwah. Happy painting.